won't accept the loss, I'm hard-headed. There's a little bit of madness to my method. Many falling off that fine line that I'm treading. I risk anything to be great, and I'm not letting nobody rob me of my victory. Number one, that's what I'm meant to be. When by any means, only thing that makes sense.
Here we go. It is episode 18 of the Red, White, and Crew podcast. Thank you for joining us as we are here for this special semifinal preview edition of both our upcoming FIFA World Cup semifinals slated for both tomorrow and Wednesday. Excited, have a great show for you. But before we do, want to go ahead and tell you about our great partners at GoalGetter. This episode is brought to you by GoalGetter, a recruiting education platform built to help female soccer student athletes and their families navigate the path to college soccer. The process can feel overwhelming, families don't fully understand the recruiting landscape. GoalGetter provides the education, tools, and guidance families need to navigate the recruiting landscape and make informed decisions. To get more information, you can find them on social, on both at Instagram and X, at GoalGetter Soccer. That's GOLGETR Soccer. That's at GoalGetter Soccer, as well as at their website at GoalGetter. That's GOLGETR.com. Again, that's at GoalGetter.com. Gentlemen, it's a special semifinal edition preview here. It's been a few days since we got together. I know Wes, Elias, Rafa. It's been a minute since we've had you on here. How is everybody? We'll go around the room. Rafa, we'll start with you.
All right, trying to get back to normal. Some things have just kind of been out because of just some family stuff, but hopefully everything's resolved and so forth.
Yeah, well, it's good to have you back, buddy. So, Elias, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. I'm starting to already think about like the past 2 days. I'm going into withdrawal from no games, so I'm like, what am I going to do when this tournament's over?
Are you doing the Pablo Escobar Narcos gif where you're just out by yourself in the yard and staring at nothingness?
Exactly. That's how I feel. But no, it's been good. You know, we just got practice going on with the kids and things like that. So trying to enjoy these last few, the back to school emails are starting, so I'm trying to enjoy my last few weeks.
Yeah, tell me about. I walked into, what was it, Saturday? I think of all Academy, right? So I wasn't really expecting it. So I walked into Academy and just all kinds of back to school backpacks, clothes, all kinds of back to school stuff. I was like, man, already. But yeah, it kind of got me by surprise. So, Wes, what's going on, buddy?
Oh, same. Just I got all of my classes today and started getting the roster of kids. So I was looking through practice this morning. I was like, I don't want those kids. Can we start over? Let's just go back somewhere else. Nah, it's funny when you get your own kids in your class, like your own soccer players. And tell them already. Be like, you're gonna
getting your full schedule, like soccer class, everything.
Oh yeah. Right now we got about 70 kids signed up for soccer, so we're gonna have to make cuts or do something different. That's a lot of kids in one class.
That's more than what you had last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's a lot more.
Yeah, I'm curious, Elias. What do you have for your? Because I've never really had that conversation with you in terms of your soccer class breakdown. Do you have one athletic period? Two? How many? You know, are they split? When do you have it?
I have 2 athletic, so we're 7-period day. I teach 4 classes, then lunch, conference, and then I have 2 athletic periods at the end of the day. I have the second to last period of the day is like our JV2, and then the last period of the day is JV and varsity together. So, and we have like a study hall period kind of in between there too, in between those 2 athletic periods. So I'm done teaching at 10:55 in the morning every day, which is kind of nice.
Such a hard life.
Yeah, right.
That is awesome. So yeah. This past year, my first year at Canyon, this was my first time having a single athletic period, right? Which I wasn't used to, and it was smack dab in the middle of the day, which I was kind of used to. But so it has its pluses and minuses. But having everybody all at once was definitely an adjustment. So good deal. So. All right. Well, hey, not that they joined us here today to hear us talk about our athletic periods, but we're excited as we're going to look forward to our 2 matchups today. France versus Spain tomorrow, followed by Argentina versus England on Wednesday. Something I did want to mention, I wanted to pull up really quick before we kind of start getting into it. The kind of projections as far as favorites. I jumped on jumped on Kelsey of all things. So
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
yeah,
Things kind
yeah,
of,
definitely.
in my opinion, but
Yeah, so and I was trying to pull up the other one because I saw it earlier, but I couldn't find it on here because I don't think it's quite in the futures, but this is so France versus Spain, kind of 60-40 as of right now, and England Argentina slight favorite, England, and then so going to was it no futures? Here we go. So final matchups. Here's what they were kind of projecting in terms of what I guess what the market is liking: France versus England and France versus Argentina. Spain kind of being
like,
because this one's a little different from the other one that I had seen, where it was kind of they seem to be lower on Argentina for some reason. So thoughts on this, Wes? Because I know you're heavy in this stuff.
oh yeah. I mean, I think the England being the favorite over Argentina is something that's flipped over the last couple weeks, over the last, I guess, 2 games, 2 rounds. So it was interesting to see them kind of play that underdog role now. What they're going to have to do. I know you guys have been sold on England for a long time, but I don't necessarily know if I'm sold yet on them. I was impressed by their win over Mexico in Azteca. I don't think I was necessarily as impressed with the win over Norway. I thought Norway deserved better in that game, but who knows? We'll see.
Mhm.
I know Tuchel wasn't impressed with his team after that. Did you guys see that interview after the game?
Yeah, that was very interesting. Thoughts on that one. So I felt like he kind of let us in behind the curtain a little too much, right?
Yeah.
On that one. So, and of course, he's got the emotions going. So, I don't know, Elias, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I texted my friends because I think Jude Bellingham came out after and basically
Right.
said, well, maybe he doesn't understand what it's like to play in these games. And then I saw something too where it was a post about talking about how language is really important in sports because maybe he has a slightly different version of mentality than maybe what the reporter was asking or maybe what other people were talking about. But I mean, there's a reason he doesn't last super long in places. I think he rubs people the wrong way. He's very, very passionate. Obviously, he knows what he's doing from a tactical standpoint, but I do think that is a situation where not having been maybe necessarily a super high level player kind of hurt him a little bit because I think he lost a little bit of credibility with the squad after that interview.
Yeah, one of my players is convinced that he's a German spy.
Dude, that would be even more impressive if England can win it now, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
yeah, but I don't know. I mean, do you think so behind the scenes, right? So, I guess the thoughts on that, how it all unfolded. Now, I will say this: the journalist that was asking the immediate post-match questions to Jude, right, to Bellingham, didn't exactly do him any favors, right? It's like she's goes like, "Oh, hey, by the way, your coach said," you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like instinct. I don't know if that's good journalism so much as just kind of maybe lack of professionalism, but so that's what got the ball rolling. But we're all coaches here, so behind the scenes, afterwards, in the coming days, on the field, in the locker room, how do you think that locker room, particularly Tuchel, how do you think they handle that?
I don't know. He probably had to have a conversation with everybody after that. Because, I
Yeah.
mean, it's okay to say that we didn't play our best. Hey, we didn't look great. But I don't know. The interview was awkward. I thought the questioning was weird.
It was.
They were asking him too, and I mean, he's not wrong. He's like, what do you mean? Like the mentality of us suffering through a game and it not looking pretty, but we still getting the win. Like that shows what kind of mentality we have as a team. Like, what do you mean? So I
Yeah.
kind of get where he's coming from, but he definitely was a little brash in the interview. I don't know. Could
But I
rub
think
people the wrong way.
Elias has a point, though, right? I hadn't really thought about it from that perspective of just the interpretation, because we've seen it with Poach a few times too, right?
Yeah.
The interpretation of when it comes to language, how certain phrases and questions are interpreted. So I hadn't really thought about that. So that's a good point. But the thing about it, the tricky part was both him and Bellingham, they were both right, in terms of their
Yeah.
response, right?
Yeah.
And in any and you but you can also make the argument that Bellingham's like should have probably held back a little bit in terms of as well of what he had to say, but that kind of helped kind of galvanize, bring that locker room closer together, so I could see that side too. So I don't know. So, Rafa, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it was just observing they didn't play well, just motivation. I get because they know the next one's going to be a lot tougher. So and it's a big one too, because it gets you to the finals. So, but sometimes you win ugly games, and that's the name of the game. You win and you advance. But I think he just expects better from, especially with all the world class players that they have. So, but he knows that if they play like that in this upcoming game, they'll end up getting eliminated. So hopefully maybe that's kind of like a little pep talk for them coming up.
Well, I got to play Argentina and the referees in the next game.
Yeah, they have released the kits for the semifinal edition. In case you hadn't seen that yet, that was pretty awesome. Thanks, Brian. So I hadn't seen that version. That was hilarious. And you know what? The funny thing is, I stared at it for probably about a good 5 seconds before I even noticed it. I was like, "What? I've seen this already."
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I guess that is. I come back to the language piece that Elias mentioned because, excuse me, what he was hung up on was the fact that it wasn't mentality; it was just quality. It was quality on the day, but I felt the part where I felt like he came off wrong was, I mean, you got to give Norway. I don't know why. I just felt like tons of people that were big on Norway going into this matchup, all of a sudden were selling them short as if England didn't look good, didn't look right, didn't look, I mean, you could make that argument for every team in this, in the semifinal, in this Final Four, probably with the exception of France, but even France, right? France had their moment a little bit with Paraguay, right?
Yeah.
So at some point, no team has looked stellar start to finish. It's tournament play, right? That's, I think, how it's designed. But that's the thing that I kind of came back to, right? He's another coach that is just like Poch, comes from the club world, right? So getting used to the national team spotlight, tournament play, it's different, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Norway had a great game plan. Yeah. I thought Norway had a great game plan. I thought they executed it the way they were supposed to. I think surviving that first quarter, as we've been calling it, and then really turning on the gas and start pressing right into the second quarter, it led right to the goal. And I mean, listen, I know that call on Holland, it's a call that's going to get called every time, unfortunately, when you're going to shove a guy to the ground. But he was being completely bear hugged right before that. And we never see that point of it. We never look at it and like, oh, well, there should have been a penalty because of the bear hug. But there were a lot of things. I'm pretty sure that ball hit a wire, too. I don't know if you guys saw that video.
If you look at BBC's, so they have the British Broadcasting Channel, whatever. They have a 3D model. I think I was telling you about that. And they use GPS data. And even in their 3D model, you can see the ball kind of move a little bit and then come down.
But do we not have our VAR looking at the technology inside the ball?
Okay, so here's my question. You had, 5 officials on the field, right? You have 5 officials on the field, right? Not to mention VAR. Not one of them was staring at the ball. I mean, not one of them. They're mic'd up. Not one of them. I mean, I find that hard to. I mean, and the more I started looking at the film afterwards, it was like right out of the JFK's Zapruder film, dude. I was like, is it? Can I tell? Can I clearly tell? And then apparently the ball now has a heartbeat. I don't know if you guys saw that. So, so it has an EKG monitoring system from VAR.
I just don't know when we've seen a goalkeeper at this level struggle to get the ball to midfield on a long goal kick. Like, to me, that was the telling sign that it hit something. I mean, it was going up. It looked like it was going to land 20, 30 yards into England's territory, and then it lands right at midfield. We haven't seen a goalkeeper go long and the ball struggle to get to midfield the whole tournament. That should also be a clue that it hit something.
Right. Well, when the ball dropped, who was it, Anderson? I think it dropped at Anderson's feet, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the part, but I had to go back and start looking at it before I started. So it's like, okay, yeah, it must have. I didn't see it, but it must have. But that's the problem, right? Is like if you start kind of playing detective, then does that take away from the intent of VAR, and are we using it correctly? Right? That's the thing, right? So I don't know. I don't know if that was when they felt like, okay, we got to be smart in terms of protocol for VAR. This is not one of them. Do we use it or do we not use it? And if we have 5 officials on the field and not one of them saw it and our sensor didn't go off, it must have not hit it. So I
Well,
don't know.
that's the thing. That's the thing with that sensor, though, too.
I
'Cause
know.
even if you go back to that Croatia,
Portugal.
what was it, Croatia Portugal game, right, where they're showing you the sensor of the touch that came off, you can barely see a touch for Croatia in that game on that when it skims over his head. You for sure see a touch after when it hit the Portugal player. And so for me, when I'm watching that and they're showing you the timeline with the little heartbeat or whatever, there's no touch that's after they say it touches the Croatia player. You know what I mean? Like if you saw the one blip, there should have been a second blip right after it, and there's nowhere to be found on all the footage. So I'm like, are you syncing up the timing of when those blips should have happened with what's going on? Because it looks like to me that's where I think we're getting too much into technology, and let's use our eyes and be smart and
Right.
look at what you're looking at. I don't know. I feel like this knockout round, the referees, great job in the first, like during the group stages. I thought we had great games. There was no issues, no controversies. We get into the knockout stages, and all of a sudden, there's multiple games that are being marred, you know, by VAR interruptions, by not interrupting with something they should have, not taking away a goal or giving a goal back. I don't know. It's been a lot, and it's kind of been frustrating to see in some of these games.
Yeah. Rafa, any additional thoughts on that?
I mean, if you're not going to use the technology, I mean, why even have it? Like I said, I think I can imagine tomorrow's game in Dallas if the goal kicker kicks out high enough and hit the hit the screen
or the
I
jumbotron.
mean, the jumbotron, like the Dallas kicker's been doing it for a while, so I mean, it's they got to get it together on that, And that, like I said, that could have been a big momentum changer for Norway. Who's to say that Norway isn't into this next round? So I mean, I know it's not perfect, but still, those are kind of dead giveaways that you have to review those. It's basically obvious that it hit something, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see who's under the getting those checks from FIFA, I guess.
Did y'all see Holland's comments after the game? He, I thought he had a good take on it. He was talking about, and he didn't mean it like to say they were getting fair. He's just like, usually the better team gets the calls to go their way. It seems like the calls go. He's like, when I'm at Manchester City, that call usually goes our way, just because it just kind of, that's the moment everyone's hung up on, but really the game was won and lost on the field, right? Like, even if it hits that, it's got to go down. So I mean, I'm with you. I think the technology needs to be used. I do think the stakes of knockout games kind of amplify referee errors or perceived errors, and maybe that's why it seems like there's a switch in officiating, just because the margins are so much tighter, right? Nobody cares if a goal is called back and the other team wins 5-1 in the group stage, but when it's 2-1 in a quarterfinal, then now, okay, that's the moment the game flipped, right? So the stakes become higher. So, I think that sometimes you just have to be careful with, the referees are bad now, but I think in general they've done a good job. I think in general they've done a good job of applying the laws of the game as they're written. Maybe not as they're intended, right? Maybe not the spirit of the law, maybe not the spirit of the game. And that's a different debate, but I do think the referees are applying the laws of the game as they are written. So,
Yeah, I know we saw there was some controversy with the mistaken identity, how it was used, when it was used. I guess the initial launch to the video versus what the outcome was in the Argentina-Switzerland game. That one still being argued for a number of reasons. I think they got the flop right, but I don't think that was how it was used. And should it have been a second yellow, or was it supposed to be given the protocol? That's what's still kind of up for argument, I guess.
They did give the yellow though to Almiron, right, for Paraguay against the USA. So it was interesting. It's kind of the same thing. Rio Ferdinand tweeted after that. He's like, "I've never seen this," and then people go up and they pull up his tweets where he's talking about the Almiron, and I forgot who that was for the USA where they switched it.
Tim Ream. Tim Ream.
Yeah, Tim Ream. He's like, "That was a great call. That's what it's there for." So, it if the referee gets the call right on the field to begin with, and he doesn't call a dive, then I don't think he gives the second yellow.
I think too because he gave the yellow for the foul. I think
you then have to.
Now you got to go and give the yellow for the dive because it elicited you to have a response and give a card.
Right. And that becomes a slippery slope that's being argued in terms of, because now we're going to, I mean, by that criteria that an official could open themselves up with, then you're going to be looking at a lot of yellows, right? In terms of flopping and simulation.
It's to me it's similar to like, you see yellow cards, not given or given for, time wasting, right? At the end of the game, like, what was it? Kamavinga got sent off against Bayern Munich for grabbing the ball and running with it. It's one of those things like those moments are always going to be the spirit of the game versus the laws, right? And it's just, do we allow the referees to use their discretion? And then what are the conversations that the governing body is telling these referees? Was that a point of emphasis going in? So I don't know. I think there's a lot of pressure on the referees where they want to ref for another World Cup game, or maybe some of these referees in smaller nations, maybe they're trying to get up into European leagues or some, things like that. So I don't know. It's just it's a lot of pressure on everyone, I think, in those moments.
Yeah, no doubt. And speaking of referees, so we'll stay with that, right? Segueing to what we started discussing yesterday. So Ivan Barton, right, scheduled South American official who will be officiating tomorrow's France-Spain matchup, right? He has issued 4 red cards in his last 6 games. So before we dive into France-Spain specifically, I guess that's the question, right? How much will he play a factor in tomorrow's match?
That will be a red card for denial of goal scoring opportunity. I think there. I mean, was he the Mexico ref in the beginning, the opening game?
No, he wasn't.
No, that was not him.
But
it wasn't that one.
I mean, this is our CONCACAF guy, right? I mean, this is our guy that I feel like I've seen him so much before refereeing games.
I'm trying to remember what game he did earlier in the group stage where it was. I remember seeing
Paraguay or Turkey game.
Mm-hmm. Was it that?
Yeah, it was that game because.
Oh, and he gave the red for covering the mouth, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. So.
And just the way the game was handled, just all the starts and stops and a lot of fouling. It was a CONCACAF type of game. That's what we kept laughing about.
So that will tell you a couple of things, right? Is he going to be South American official, calls a lot of stuff in CONCACAF region as well. So he's theoretically, he's probably going to be prone to maybe allowing physical play, right? You have 2 European squads that like to have the ball or can move really fast up the field. So how will he officiate this match? How much will he let them play? And how quick will he be to start issuing out the cards, right? So it's something to think about because it is a legitimate factor. And then how much, kind of as Elias alluded to, right, when they talk to them in the officials meetings as far as points of emphasis, what will they maybe be looking at in terms of these? Because I mean, you're on the big stage now here, World Cup semifinals. How much will he? Because it's still subjective. We're still human and we still have biases. How much will he adjust his officiating style, for lack of better words? But it is going to play a factor. No matter, you cannot. If you dismiss that, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. Thoughts on that in terms of how he adjusts. We can't really speak to that much, but how they might adjust to France and Spain. That is to the type of game he'll probably call.
I mean, I think it's going to be really interesting how he deals with the tactical fouls. You have to think that Spain is going to have a lot of tactical fouls, especially in transition. because and I'm sure we'll get into the game more, but it is going to be where Spain is camped out in France's box for long periods of time, and France is looking to break on the counter very, very quickly. And I would guess, Rodri. I mean, there was always talks about Guardiola coaching the tactical fouls, right? And then Mikel Arteta was there as well. So these guys are well versed in how to break up those counterattacks. Does he allow them? We saw it with Paraguay where the referee allowed the play to continue, even because one of the points of emphasis, and we heard it from I think Mark Clantenberg, was they want the game to flow. They don't want it to stop and start. So even if there's a foul, if it's not a yellow card, even if it's a yellow card offense, as long as the attacking team maintains possession of the ball, they're kind of letting the game go. So, how does he handle those moments? Because I do think that Spain is probably going to be doing more of the tactical fouling than maybe France will. So.
I feel like it is so different too because I mean I don't know, have we ever had in World Cup history where the top 4 teams ranked in the world are in the Final Four?
No, first time. I thought we had to go way back, maybe to like early '70s, but no, it's the first time.
First time.
They seeded it though, right? Did y'all see that? Where they drew up the bracket where if the teams won their groups, they would not see each other until the end, which I think is smart because, I mean, I think it's smart because it keeps it keeps your best teams in the competition. Nobody wanted to see France and Spain if they were group winners play in the round of 16, right? Like, I mean, that just,
right.
So I think that was smart.
Rafa, you got it? I didn't know you had something. I thought you had something.
No.
No. Okay. All right. So we get to the match. So first we'll look at France here really quick. So France enters their pathway in the group stage, beat Senegal 3-1, Iraq 3-1, or 3-0, I should say. Beaten Norway. We know what Norway did in that one, 4-1. And then round of 32, defeated Sweden. Round of 16, Paraguay 1-0, beat Sweden 3-0, sorry. Paraguay 1-0, and then Morocco in the quarterfinal 2-0 in a game that they really, really controlled, which was surprising. And then now they arrived to Spain, playing Spain here in the semifinal. And then so we look over at Spain's pathway, very controlled, steady, growing. Hadn't allowed a goal until their quarterfinal match with Belgium, but first match in the group stage, Cape Verde, that was the one that really kind of got everyone's attention in a 0-0 draw. Then took care of Saudi Arabia 4-0, Uruguay in an interesting, tough, ugly one 1-0, and then round of 32, Austria 3-0, round of 16 over Portugal 1-0, and then quarterfinal matchup, which we just discussed. They give up their first goal versus Belgium, but take care of business. Spain just kind of we're going to get into it, obviously, but giving up their first goal in tournament play. So the defense has been there, but they're going to really be tested versus this France matchup. So when we look at the storylines coming in, France looking one match away from making their third consecutive World Cup final, which they would tie, I think, what is that, Brazil? And I don't know if it's Germany or Italy, right, in making 3 in a row. Thoughts on this as we look at them in terms of current form coming into this matchup? Elias, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think, everyone's gonna look at France and they're gonna be, enamored with what they've done, and rightly so. You have 3 legitimate Ballon d'Or contenders in one front line on that France team. I mean, any one of Olise, Mbappe, or Dembele, are. I don't know that if France win the World Cup, I don't know that anyone could really argue with any of those 3 winning the Ballon d'Or at the end of this. So you look at that. I do have questions though with their outside backs. I do have questions though with against a team like Spain, the 2-man midfield. How does that hold up? But then on the flip side, right? I think the strengths and the weaknesses almost match up perfectly. I don't think France wants to defend for long stretches. You have 4, true attackers. So now you're really defending with 6, or you're asking a player like Olise or Dembele or Doué or Mbappe to become an extra defender, which is not their strength, right? So that part matches up, but then you look at, okay, Spain's rest defense, but they do leave huge spaces. So what is the strength of this France team? It's attacking those big spaces. The pace of this team is absolutely frightening. So I tend to, though, if you look at just sports in general, the shiny team is usually outdone by the solid, methodical team. I see this game being decided by 1 goal or less, but I still think that Spain is going to be able to do it. I just think that they're going to be able to pin them back enough. It's just how do they handle those transitions? If they give up 3 goals in transition, obviously it's over. But if you can hold them to 1, I feel good about the Spain team winning.
Yeah, I think what'll be telling early, right, will be how far up. We talk about the fullbacks, right, for Spain, Cucurella in particular, Cucurella, I should say. How far does he? We know he likes to push up and get into the attack. If they hold him back a little bit more, right, that will be one sign, or maybe or he has a definitive line where he doesn't go past a certain point, maybe.
I think they bring in Llorente for Pedro Porro, and I think he is the deeper of the fullbacks. I think you give the right flank to Lamine Yamal. You say, go be great. He's going to get doubled up. But if to double up on him, now you have to drop one of those wingers in, right? We saw it against Belgium, where Jeremy Joku was having to play as a wingback. That really limited his ability to get into the attack. He is a similar. Now France has 3 of them, right? 3 Jokus. They have 3, maybe 4 if you consider Doué or whatever. But that is going to be one thing. I do think Llorente is going to sit a little bit deeper, and then they'll try to create 2v1s on the on Spain's left hand side, France's right hand side, with Cucurella and either Alex Baena, or I could see Nico Williams starting. I think that this is a break glass in case of emergency. I think you need him to play, and you may throw him out there and under the risk of, hey, he may have to come out after 30 minutes with an injury, or he could go 60 or 70. But I think you need him in this kind of game because you have to exploit those fullbacks, which I think are the weak point of this France team.
Yeah, I think part of it too will be, I think the hidden factor here will be France's patience, right? Particularly when they don't have the ball. Right, that's going to be the question, and I think that'll start to stand out because if they go in these long stretches where Spain sits in with the ball in possession, and then they finally get the ball back, they can't counter quickly. I think one sign of their impatience growing was when you'll start seeing kind of out of character shots from certain ranges, certain distances, right, that don't make sense, where they can still have plenty of patience. So we'll see. So Wes.
Yeah, so when I look at these games, I think, form matters in how you've been playing. I think both France and Spain probably are the 2 best looking teams throughout the consistency of the tournament. They're definitely in my mind. I mean, pre-tournament, I had Spain winning it all. And then I think that first game, put a question mark in everybody's minds with Cape Verde and what they did. But it's hard to even look at that game, too, because of who they had out. And now who they've got back and being able to play and getting Lamine Yamal in there the whole time, getting more out of Nico Williams. I think if you look back, though, what the last 2 times that these teams have played, once in 2025, once in 2024, France was carved apart by Spain. And it was that constant pressure of having the ball and trying to defend. So I think the question is, does he decide, we're going to change our approach? And we're going to try to sit in a little bit more and just play on the counterattack. We're not going to get so wide open, and so they can find all the pockets of space like they did. I mean, they jumped out to a 4-0 lead last year. 55 minutes in, it was 4-0 Spain. Now, the crazy part is France, we all know what they have attacking-wise. They were able to, bring it back, but then Spain got that 5th goal. So 5-4 winner. They also Spain won 2-1 in 2024. So does Spain have a psychological edge over France at this point? Hey, we played them twice in the last 2 years. They've gotten us both times. What does that look like? So I think you're right, though. I think it's going to be that front 4, Elias, like we talked about for France. How do they defend? how do they counter press when they lose the ball? If they just freely let Spain have the ball and freely let them get out like they've done with most of the other teams, I think they're going to be in for a long day because it's going to be harder and harder for them to get the ball. And the weakness of France's team, in my opinion, is in the back. So they're so good up front. They're so good on the counterattack. But if they just concede possession of the ball, it's going to be very hard for them to get it back in good situations and go at them.
Right. Yeah, and I think there is something to be said though too. This is because they're so good up top, right? That midfield for France, which is very different from that when they played last year, right? That you talked about. That midfield is kind of significantly underrated because of the horses that they have up top. But Deschamps, that's the thing, right? We talk about how we've been breaking these quarters down, right? How do they? The thing about France is when you look at their matches, you go look at their highlights. They have this selective press. The high press will come in spurts of maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then they kind of lay off, right? So the question is going to be, where is France okay with if they know Spain's going to have the ball? It's like, hey, we'll let you have the ball, but we're going to dictate where you have the ball, right? So is it a mid block maybe, and then when Didier Deschamps says go, maybe it's post water break, boom, high press, in spurts. Possibly.
I don't think that you can stop their build up unless you go to man to man. I just think that they are too good at finding the free player. So if it's any sort of hybrid, man on the ball side and then zone, with the +1 in the back, and that's why they've pinned. I think that's why people are kind of underestimating Spain because it's been boring. But it's been boring because they have everybody pinned. I mean, they have people pinned in their own half and they can't get out, and they are okay with. And we talked about the U.S. kind of needed this against Belgium. When Belgium got momentum, they took the ball back and then just killed the game off and killed all of Belgium's momentum. And so, I do think that that's going to be an edge for Spain. It's going to come down to the power of the collective versus the power of the individuals. I mean, that's what this game is about. You have four incredible individuals for France, and if all four of them are firing and all four of them are on it and able to find space, I don't know that any team can beat them. But if one or two of them have an off day and Spain is able to neutralize maybe one more of them, then I think that they can get this game done. But it's a very interesting. This game, I'm really looking forward to see how does Spain manage that front four, and what kind of risk are they willing to do? But it's going to be death by 1,000 passes. I mean,
and you mentioned Nico. You mentioned Nico, right? I would like to see him too. I'm with you. I just feel like I don't think you can be De La Fuente in this match, at least in spurts, right? Break this down into periods, right? Into quarters. I think you're going to have whether it's Lama, whether it's Yamal or whoever's playing on that opposite wing. Maybe it's Nico. They're gonna have to track back to a certain point because if they're not tracking back, right, and you're still sending your Cucurella forward, and even if Porro sits back, they're going to look for moments. They're going to try to isolate. You know what's going to happen. They're going to try to isolate Mbappe some way, right? Mm-hmm. So I think they're going to have to that the width out wide is where I think they're going to have to win because logic should tell us that they should win the midfield in the middle of the field, right? But out wide, that I don't know. Maybe that's where France tries to get it because if they say, hey, we have. Yamal, who doesn't generally track back much, and they're probably going to tell him, "Hey, you go forward, and then we'll kind of bunker in behind you." Then they try to exploit that space. I would imagine that, but yeah, I agree with you. I think we'll see. Very very interesting piece there. And
it has. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Elias. Elias, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, just one last piece on what you were talking about, Lamine Yamal tracking back. I've been following all the interviews, and every single Spain player has been crediting him with how he's tracked back. And I don't know necessarily that he's been tracking back super well, but I do think that they are trying to say, hey, we're going to win because Lamine Yamal is going to go play defense. And I think they're trying psychologically to say, already prep him for you're going to have to defend but we know you can do it. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be really interesting on how those wingers, are able. But they have shown to be able to sit in a low block from time to time and withstand pressure. So,
That's true. It's just one of those games where it's like, who adjusts to who? Like,
yeah.
there's so much unknown about what this game is going to look like when it plays out. So it's exciting, like, for it to get here, to be like, okay, now that we've watched the first quarter, now we can break down and see what they're doing and see who's adjusting to who.
There's so much talent on the field,
Yeah.
such great coaching, and they adjust in real time really well. Let alone you give them a water break, right? So I think you literally we've been talking about this in quarters and momentum, right? I think you got to tackle this. You got to tackle these halves by quarters. What they look like, first 25 minutes, last 20 minutes, the adjustments made
Yeah.
coming out of halftime, and then same thing in the second half. So
You look
just
at it like,
the coaching is too much is world class too. So.
yeah, you look at it like March Madness. We always games that always play. Like if you're looking at the basketball games, can you get to the TV timeout and keep this thing close? Like you're playing in those 4-minute blocks to get to each TV timeout before. So it's really funny that that's what this water break has done to the World
Right.
Cup and done to soccer. It's
Yeah.
just, hey, can we play in this 22-minute period, and then we'll adjust.
Rafa?
I think the key also is France's midfield is Rabiot and Shonomi. How do they are they able to distribute balls when they have position to the wings to to get to Dembele, to Mbappe, to the space to allow them to those spaces to get those goals. And you saw some of those goals against Morocco, because they had a lot of space. That's what they need. And uh, I think if they're gonna win, those two, especially those two, and then also with Kone, if he comes in, they're gonna have to step it up. I think the key is their midfield is gonna have to kind of carry them here to kind of lay the foundation for them for their top four to succeed there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think part of this too is like who has in terms of distribution and balance and management, who has the better game, right? Through the midfield in Rodri and Michael Olise for France, right? So between those two, right? Because that's probably going to determine who's getting the quality looks, right? The quality service, quality the through balls, the distribution. So who of those two has maybe the better game? So all right. So X factors, any variables besides we talked about the officials. So think about that for a second, guys. So team stats coming into this match: average goals, France 2.67, Spain 1.83. Average goals conceded 0.33 for France, 0.17 for Spain. Average goal differential plus 2.3 for France, plus 1.7 for Spain. Average expected goals, that's the one we've been talking about a lot, 2.16 for France, 1.78 for Spain. Average expected goals conceded, 0.71 for France, 0.33 for Spain. And then our average expected goal differential, right? Almost identical. Plus 1.5 for France, plus 1.4 for Spain. Possession has been not too far. I thought there were going to be a little bit more difference, but 65% Spain, 60% France. Save percentage is about the same, 83 to 88%. And one thing that kind of gets lost here is we've been talking a lot about the Spain's clean sheets. France has just one less, right? Spain has 5, France has 4. So and sometimes it's kind of one of those things where the best defense in France's case is the attack, right? Is their offense. All right, so variables, X factors, and final thoughts on this one, guys.
Tomorrow's Bastille Day.
It's what?
Bastille Day is tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So
Is it really?
the French are going to be extra motivated tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think the midfield configuration is going to be really interesting for Spain. Does he go back to Pedri? Does he stick with Fabian Ruiz? Is it Mikel Merino? Is it Dani Olmo? Or is it do you bring in like your pit bull like Gavi? To me, this almost seems like a tailor-made game for Gavi. He's just going to go and piss off the French the whole time because he's just going to be nipping at their heels the whole time. So,
What's the deal with Pedri? Has he had a falling out a little bit with Pedri, or a little bit, or just not a
he
liking
has
to him?
not. I don't think he looks right. I think that it's down to form, and I think that even he would agree. And even the Barcelona media is talking about how he just doesn't look like his normal self. It looks like his legs are just zapped. And so, and maybe that was a little bit of a motivational tactic against Belgium. I do think that he is, next to Rodri, their most important midfielder if he's
Right.
100%. And I think that they know that they need him at his best for them to be successful in this tournament.
Well,
So,
Danny Olmo has stepped up. Danny Olmo has stepped up, I would say, quite a bit.
and Danny Olmo is incredible in that number 10 role. If you do think that you're going to be camping out in the box, Danny Olmo's great. You know, Mikel Merino does he start as a 9? Does he start in midfield? Is he your super sub again? So to me, it's that 4 players right there in the spine, the 3 midfielders. You know, Rodri's going to be one of them. You know, he's going to be in there. What are the other 3, right? And I think that's.
I would have to go back. I would have to go back to go to the group stage. Mikel Moreno, he didn't start for any.
He started
match,
the second game.
Did he start? Okay. I was gonna say I'd have to go back and look. So yeah, interesting. So Rafa, variables, X factors in this one. What do you think?
I think this is the game to shine. I think if you're one of the quote unquote the stars, this is the moment. Who's gonna seize the day? I guess you can say, as far as being the X factor. You know, we've had some heroes in some games. I know for Spain has some heroes in the last one, and vice versa with France. So it's who's ready to step into that moment and lead them and get them to the final. So that's what I'm waiting for. Who's gonna have that one game to? I mean, Olise, I think he's played great, but he still hasn't gotten to his potential. What we've seen him at Bayern. You know, I think he hasn't played like a game like he had when he's done. You know what he's done at Bayern. I think we could.
He looks like he's practicing. He looks like he's practicing.
And I think this is probably the game that he breaks out and does some damage. This could be the one for him.
Wes?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I would say you said it a little bit. That battle between Rodri and Olise, like who wins that battle, is one of the biggest key factors in this game. And I agree with you. I think Olise is poised and ready. I've thought he's looked the best out of the teams. Like if you're looking for an X factor, I think he's been my kind of target guy every time, especially betting wise, to get a goal and assist or things like that. I think another thing we got to look at is Mbappe's health. You know, he picked up that knock, the ankle, and he has not practiced fully yet. He was limited in their final training session today. So
it was a pretty good one, man. I went back to that video. It was pretty. Yeah. It was a pretty good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, what does it look like? I think when the game starts, look at his first sprint that he has. You know, does he look to be his normal self or not? But I think the biggest X factor for me isn't who controls possession in this game. It's who controls the moment possession changes hands. You know, what are we doing when we counter press? You know, which team is doing it the best? Because if Spain can really counter press well and keep them pinned back and don't allow them to break out, it's going to be a very long day for France. But if France is able to connect a few passes right away when they win the ball, it could be another long day for Spain. Like this is one of those games that you've got. These teams are so good at what they do. Who's going to do it best? And so, right. I mean, we could be in for an all-time thriller of a game, and then watch us all be wrong, and then it be like 0-0 going into the 88th minute.
Yeah, please. I mean, Spain does play in a lot of those matches because of their style of play, right?
For Spain, that does happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think ultimately, I think that's the issue, right? Is more because part of Spain's defense will be, hey, we're not going to let you have the ball, right? So. That's why I say the patience for France is going to be key in this. Where it's like, what do you do? Purposeful possession in the moments, in transition. And I think where Spain's explosiveness will have to come into play will be in the transition moments, just as you mentioned, right? So be interesting. So, all right, official scoreline prediction. Rafa, we'll start with you.
Close. So I think not Spain. I think France pulls this one out. I think get a 2-1.
Wes?
Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be 3-2, 2-1. It's going to be a one-goal game for sure. But even though I originally rolled with Spain at the beginning of this tournament, I think this is France's tournament to lose. I think France is going to win this one. They just have looked the best to me. And I know, Elias, you're going to disagree with me because I know you've talked about like just this. I like what you said too. When you have the really flashy team, it's the one that's methodical, that can hold possession, and they're the ones that usually come out on top in these games. But man, I don't know. I would not bet against Mbappe, Dembele, Olise, and Doué right now. Just wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I think I got Spain 3-2. I think that just they're going to create more volume of chances. I think France will.
Oh, did he freeze on us?
I think he froze on us. Yeah, I was like, was it me?
I thought I froze there for a second. All right, we'll let him come back here. So, all right. So while we get him back,
His computer randomly shut off. He said,
I know. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So all right. So any reattacks? Anything else to add before we'll try to? give him
Do
a
you
minute
think
to-
that the game, like I said, that Spain-Belgium game, I know the Belgian goal was really, that was something that really kind of exposed, I think, the Spanish defense a bit. I think if you play
Yeah.
quick touches on that, I think France really kind of should analyze that because they are vulnerable. I don't think really Spain has been really tested in that area. And I think France has enough more firepower than Belgium did, but you saw the goal that Belgium scored was a nice goal. I think that was one of the best ones, though, as far as the setup. I think if France can do stuff like that, I think they can really exploit them, and and it can turn into a route if they get it kind of pumping, and make passes like that into that in the final third.
Yeah, I think there is something to it. Obviously, the lineups look different. The formations are not that different, but in form, they're a little different, right? In terms of, but there is something to what Wes was saying as far as Spain has in the past shown the ability to figure out France, right? I just don't think this is a fine-tuned machine right now. France is in great form. How close to 100% is Mbappe? I think that's a real thing too, right? But I don't know. I just see. I'm going to be fascinated by the adjustments by the coaches in this one because I think this is going to be back and forth. So the momentum swings could be big on this, or if not, I don't see Spain running away from France, but it could get. If France can't figure it out early, if Spain can't figure it out early, there is the possibility where France could run away from Spain, right? So,
yeah.
pending a 100% Mbappe. So go ahead, Wes.
We've said too that France is one of those teams that has shown they go down 4-0, they've got enough firepower to come back.
They can come back. Yeah.
Is that reversed? You know what I mean? Do we see that out of Spain? Say France jumps up 3-0, 4-0. I don't think you see a Spain team that's going to be able to climb back into it like France can. So that'll be interesting.
Well, their style of play is not designed for that either, right? The build up, the methodical possession play, right? Whereas France wants to turn it into a track meet, and we just have to go back to the 2022 World Cup final, right, versus Argentina. They can flip a game in 2-3 minutes, right? Yeah. So and this is a much better polished, better coached France team even than 2022. So yeah, I picked Spain, but it's going to kind of be one of those where I got to see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if they can completely take away the midfield, right, both centrally and out on the wings, right, and France is struggling, and France is reduced to, and they're reduced to the direct play, the long ball out of the bag from their keeper or their back line, then I think that could be, just the only thing I come back to, the only other thing that I'm kind of curious about is transition, right? Where is the transition happening as well, right? So I'll be curious. There's certain things that I kind of want to say. I want to see the wing play, the flanks, right? In terms of how far does Spain push up or not push up? Can they, France is going to try to go outside in those spaces thinking that maybe their wings aren't going to track back fast enough. And then does France, and we talked about the press, right? Does France try to come out fast and really try to make a statement in those first 20, 25 minutes with a high press throughout? Or are they selective in their press, right? in whether it's pre or post water break or in just little 5 minute increments, and that line of confrontation shifts maybe. So we'll see. So pretty interesting stuff. So all right, that is going to do it for our first match, which is slated for tomorrow, Tuesday, July 14th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. That is France versus Spain, live to you from Jerry World, from AT&T Dallas Stadium in Arlington. Excuse me. So we move on to match two, semifinal number 2, which is slated for Wednesday, July 15th, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. This one is in Atlanta at Atlanta/Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So we have long time rivals in England and Argentina, right? That if you don't know your history here, you owe it to yourself to definitely look up the history of these two, right? Last time they played was 2005, and I think England actually won it. Not in the World Cup, but I think just friendly. I think that's the last time they played. So Messi steps in and sees his England for the very first time in his career. We're going to talk about their form and how they arrive in their pathway. So first we look at England arriving here. So in group play, defeated Croatia in one of their better performances, right? Defeated Croatia 4-2, went 0-0 versus Ghana, and then defeated Panama 2-0. In the round of 32, defeated DR Congo 2-1 in a very, very tough match. Then in the round of 16, in probably what I feel kind of set the stage for their tournament, right? And their confidence, right? Defeated Mexico in a great battle, probably the match of the tournament, maybe up to this point, in 3-2, and then defeated Norway, as we just saw the other day, I should say, 2-1, and that is England's pathway up to this point. So let's talk England really quick in terms of how they've looked through their path. Thoughts on that, Rafa? We'll start with you.
I think they're starting, I guess, peaking at the right time, even though I guess the only game that really kind of showed, I guess,
Don't tell Tuchel that. Don't tell Tuchel that.
Was the game against Croatia. But even that, Croatia came back and, tied it up before they kind of pulled away. But, I mean, they're starting to pull away. The key factor is, after playing two really tough games and one really hard, especially the venues that, like, because playing at Mexico City with altitude, and then this one in Miami with the humidity and all that, how much has it taken a toll on this team, and how fresh are they going into this one? Is it all going to come back, kind of bite them in the butt here in this next game against, like I said, a real good Argentina team. But like I said, I think Tuchel said they haven't played their best yet. Maybe they're here. This is the game they do play their best. So, I mean, Jude may have other things to say about that, but hey, like I said, but I think he's the one that's been kind of stepping it up, even though he had a not so great season with Real this year. He was kind of non-existent, but at World Cup he's starting to pull it together, and this is one that he can really shine here if he gets another great performance on Wednesday.
Yeah. So I noticed you didn't really mention that Mexico game that much. So just saying.
No, I mean that was a good game. I mean, Mexico made a couple errors and all that. I mean, it could have gone either way, but it was a great match.
Very good match. I mean, yeah. I just felt like Aguirre's substitution patterns were wrong. So when he tried to throw everything and the kitchen sink at them in those last 10, 15 minutes, and you have the wrong guys trying to cross in, and there was no other. They just ran out of ideas in that one. It seemed like, So, Wes, so we talk about England's pathway. Thoughts on them arriving to this point?
Yeah, so I think England's probably been one of the most inconsistent teams out of what we've seen out of them, where they look fantastic against Croatia, and then they come out and they don't look as good in some other games. It seems to me like the African nations really frustrated them a lot. And then you look at Argentina, and they haven't had the best last two games, but they're still finding ways to win. So it's going to be interesting. I think Messi was way too quiet last game and didn't get on the scoreboard, so you're going to see him get on the scoreboard this game. I would say the England's depth at this point, with how many people they're losing. They upgraded Kwanzaa to 2 games. He's going to be out again this time.
They got Reece James back. They got James back.
They did get Reece James back. He had to play, but he played in the center defensive mid role, didn't he?
Well, he dropped them in because of the substitution patterns at that point.
Substitutions, yeah. So I don't know. I keep wanting to count out England. I said I didn't think they could get past Mexico and Azteca. They looked great that game. They did what they had to do and got out of a tough environment, even going down a red card. I thought Norway could beat them, and for the most part, I thought Norway outplayed them in that game. But Jude Bellingham took over, and they found themselves a way to get out of it again. And so, who knows? I mean, again, this is one of those games. It's just one of these. For me, it's not about tactical. It's which team shows up to play. Which team shows up to play their best, because they have been inconsistent over the last couple games. And can we get Messi on the ball in good spots for Argentina? But man, they've had some big time players step up when it's not him though. The Enzo Fernandez goal, oh my gosh, what a banger that was at the end of the game there. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Will we get a weird red card? If we get a weird red card for England, then we all know something's up.
Yeah. Well, we know I mean, right now the data speaks for itself, right? We haven't seen a VAR interaction, right? 47 of the 48 teams up to this point, right? All but one, right? So how much of that is that a fact? I mean, that data speaks for itself up to this point, right? So how different is that in this one? So we'll see. So Elias, thoughts on England's pathway? We were talking about England's pathway arriving to this point through the group stage and then, of course, the knockout stages.
Yeah, they are very inconsistent. I think that they've done a good job. We kind of talked about the squad selection and how, you left Cole Palmer at home, you left Phil Foden at home, right? Even if they're not necessarily maybe in their best form, nobody can argue that those are they aren't two of the most talented players in England, right? From a pure talent standpoint. But when you start to think of it in terms of, well, who gets the best out of Harry Kane and who gets the best out of Jude Bellingham, it all makes sense while they're not there, because those are the spaces that those two players love to live in, and we've seen both of them find ways to get the job done. They are an incredible 1-2 punch. I mean, I would put them up there with Mbappe and Dembele with their impact. I mean, that's how. I mean, what is it? 8 goals and 6 goals, or 7 goals and 6 goals, or something like that. I mean, it's unreal the production they're getting from those two. They do have problems in the back. Can Glassman Stones make it through a second game without tearing something, playing in the heart of defense there? Right. It's just, but you don't get to this point by accident. And I think that is something that I want. You are top 4 nations in the world, and you've had to survive. Crazy things happen to you, not playing well. Teams come out and playing, their best game of their entire life, right? I mean, I think that England game versus DR Congo, I mean, absolutely incredible effort from DR Congo. You look at, the Argentina game versus Cape Verde. I mean, that right back or the left back hitting that stunner. I mean, you have to survive those moments, and England's done it.
Right.
Do they have another gear, though? And that's going to be, like Wes said, I mean, who can bring it up a gear? That's going to decide this game, is who can raise their level, because the level of both of them right now is not good enough to beat either of these two teams. I mean, if you look at Argentina, if they play the way that they've been playing, it's not good enough to beat England. And if you look at England and the way that they've been playing for 90 minutes, it's not good enough to beat Argentina. So it's going to be interesting to see how. But they have 2 X factors. Who is going to be the one that steps up for Argentina to become the second X factor? Right?
Yeah. That's a good point. And I will say this though. I think that from the standpoint of, England, I feel like has not gotten enough credit from the standpoint of, the ups and downs, the inconsistencies. Their coach had a great point in terms of the quality, right? But you talk about so many. I mean, you got not one but 2 guys in the running, right, for the Golden Boot award, right? And Bellingham has really propelled himself into the Golden Ball award now as well, right? He's played that well for them in critical moments, clutch they've been. I mean, Harry, you talk about Harry Kane, right? Being clutch in critical moments, but I think the other thing though too is, and I've talked about it. You go back and you look at that film. I think so much of it is in the. I mean, Declan Rice. Apparently, Declan Rice was leading up to the Norway match was on his deathbed for like 3 days. I don't know if you guys saw that, right? So, and that was really the reason why they subbed him out early. And then you had, and the one that's really kind of unsung, that's really impressed me in moments was going back to the Mexico match, right? And then again in the Norway match, in certain moments in the open field, in transition, and who's just done certain things for them in critical moments that has allowed, all right, the moments to happen for Harry Kane or for Jude Bellingham has been Anthony Gordon, right? So I think one of those guys, Declan Rice, as well, just defensively, what he's done in front of that shaky, kind of sometimes questionable back line for England, right? We'll see. Hopefully, everybody's at 100%. I think the key piece, though, here, too, right, is if I'm Argentina, again, right, the quick turnaround at this point, this is why you're seeing the type of games that they're struggling through, right, is because the turnaround, the recovery time, this is a much, much older squad, Argentina squad compared to England, right? So you got to try to get out of there in 90 minutes if you're Argentina, right? I think if England, after what England has gone through and you look at their path, right? I think this is just one more. I mean, we're in climate controlled, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Let's go. We'll be fine. So I think there is maybe that advantage, England, right? And after what they've gone through, how they figured out games, we talk about both of these teams. Argentina, largely they're undoing, but they've had to fight back and come back. So that's what you're going to get from the defending champion. If nothing else, besides Messi, is their fight, their heart. That's what makes them so fun to watch. So I think that will be the intriguing piece in this. So we look at their Argentina's pathway here. So in the group stage, defeated Algeria 3-0, Austria 2-0, and then defeated Jordan 3-1. And then in the round of 32, in a classic, one of the probably the first true classic game of this tournament, it was they defeated Cape Verde in extra time 3-2. Round of 16 defeated Egypt, had to come back from behind as well in another classic 3-2, and then defeated Switzerland in what was a tight match for about 70 minutes, 75 minutes, 80 minutes, something like that, 3-1. So thoughts. So and it is. I mean, it is a stat, right? Argentina comes in becoming the first team to make a run this far semifinal without playing a top 15 team. So make of that what you will, but the data is there. The data is the data, right? So thoughts on the pathway for Argentina up to this point, Rafa?
What was that again? Sorry, I got cut off.
No, thoughts just Argentina up to now, their pathway leading them up to now to the semifinal.
I think for them, when they can they know when to turn it up when they can, but then the last few games that they've kind of, I don't know, they're just kind of going on fumes for some of these games and so forth. You expect that, especially in that Cape Verde game, to blow them out, and they just, I think that's kind of what started this, is like, are they for real now, or is the age now starting to kind of factor for them? And teams I think are using that game to kind of figure them out and trying to defend well and keep staying in the game. So for this, I think going to against England, you're not playing teams like that. They have talent, so if you get behind, they might not have the firepower to come back and kind of turn it up a notch and so forth, which they've been able to do with, with Switzerland and Cape Verde and so forth. So, like I said, they have to be very worried going into to this one. They have to start right. I think they have to get a lead and just kind of hold on towards the end. But also, they just can't depend on Messi. There's other guys that have to step it up, like McAllister, Martinez, and others. Because if those role players has to take that role to actually, I guess, ensure the win. There's a win for them, because if they shut down Messi, kind of like what they did with Switzerland, if you don't have a hero like kind of what the last game, you're done with, especially with this England team.
Yeah, Elias.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked, the group stage. You're like, okay, maybe this team can go again, and then, but that Cape Verde team, they didn't lose a game in 90 minutes the whole tournament. So that's four. They played 360 minutes of draws. So I do think you have to give some credit to Cape Verde for there. Egypt, I thought, had an excellent game plan against Argentina. They allowed Argentina to have the ball. They countered super super well, but they weren't able to put the nail in the coffin on Argentina. And then, they were able to come back. Switzerland, I thought they were going out. Even when it was tied 1-1, even before that goal came in for Switzerland, they looked like they didn't have any legs left. And that's going to be the question. Now, there is a lot of talk right now in the media of Lionel Scaloni changing to a 3-5-2 and bringing in players like Nico Paz, bringing in players like Simeone, bringing in some real legs and pace.
You think he
Senesi.
does that? What do you think? Think he does
I
that?
think he does. I think last World Cup he knew. I think it was after the first game against Saudi Arabia. He made 4 or 5 changes going into the second game. I don't think that he's afraid to make a big call, and I think that if this was a different manager, maybe in his first World Cup, you're not going to change things for a semifinal. But he's won what 2 Copa Americas. He's won a World Cup. I think he has the belief of his players, and I think that he knows that it's time to make a change because they cannot play the way that they did and expect to beat this England squad. It's Messi's first game against England. The English media is talking about, he can't do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke. I think somebody said, Joe Cole said that England's going to put him to sleep. I don't know that you want to poke that bear because I think he can roll it. And even if it's just for 20 minutes, he can turn into 2015 Messi real quick. And that 20 minutes is enough to beat you. So that to me is what gives them a chance in this game. I think overall England is the better team. I think if you look at it from top to bottom, if you take out your biases, if you take out, even me as one of the biggest Messi fans of ever, I think that it's tilted towards England. But you can't rule out this Argentina team because they just seem like a freaking cockroach, man, and they're just going to survive that nuclear war, and you're going to be gone, and they're still going to be rummaging around. So
Yeah, no doubt. Wes?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that England media and England fans and England themselves have been talking for 2 decades about how they would defend Messi, and so now they get their chance. So let's see what you can do. And I think he's heard all the noise too. I think he's definitely heard the pundits talking about what he can't do, and I think this is going to be his game to show up and show out. And you know what? I could be wrong. I picked against England in every chance I could get in this tournament, just because I despise listening to their fans talk. But we'll see what happens. I do think you're right, though, Elias. I think their coach is more willing to make adjustments and change and look completely different. And they do only need 10 minutes of greatness from Lionel Messi, and this game could be over. So I would love to see this thing be like an Argentina 3-0 blowout. That'd be fantastic. But I think it'll be tight. I do think if you let Argentina hang around, they're going to find a way to win it. They've just been the more scrappy, like you call them, cockroach of a team. You can't get rid of them. Like they're going to stick around and they're going to be in it. So England's going to have to bury them and put them away and keep them away.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that everyone's calling these games the Clásicos, right? Like you have Barcelona for Argentina and Real Madrid for England with Jude and stuff, but Argentina reminds me more of Real Madrid than any team in this tournament. They stick around. They don't play particularly well for 70, 75 minutes, 80 minutes. And then it's black magic and moments of brilliance from their best players. And
White magic, sir. White magic.
yeah, sure. But it's something different, right? You can't, and I think teams that play against them can sense that. It just seems like they can't, and I think those players believe it. They know that if they are in the game late, that they are the ones that are going to come out on top. So that's an interesting dynamic to add into it. England is the better team. Argentina just has that, as the young kids would call it nowadays, they have the aura about them, right? Like they're
Right.
just
Experience
Yeah.
factor, I think, is going to be a key since Argentina's been here. This is the first time England's been
Correct.
in a while, and
Yeah.
you have a coach that's won it and one that hasn't won it that primarily has been in club. So that's a
Right.
big difference. And then another one, kind of the stat. So England's 0-2 when Argentina wears their dark jerseys, and that was 86 and 98. And
Yeah. In
Argentina's wearing their
'86, they wore the darks, right? The blue. Yeah.
and they're wearing their darks in Dallas.
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait for the
So,
hand of God not to get called back by
The
VAR.
hand of God
well,
too.
It's
and
gonna
there
be
is something to be said. There is something to be said about this with Argentina. Is like the reality of it is there isn't that. So yeah, they're the defending champions. Yeah, and they want to repeat. Absolutely, I get that. But there isn't the same type of pressure on them. Whereas if this was like if they were making their first attempt at a world title in forever, right? If they didn't win in 2022, so it's not the same type of pressure on them, right? Whereas England, this has been the step that they haven't been able to get past, right? The semifinal, right? Can they make so there's probably that type of pressure on top of the glitz and the glamour, the fact that it's Argentina and that it's Messi, right? So does the moment become too much for them, right? Collectively, right? Are there any fallout, effects from the Tuchel and Jude interviews, right? Or is there, does that bring them closer together, or is there fallout there? What's going on there, right? So, I think all these little bits and pieces, right, come into play. But I think both of these teams have shown, all right, the tenacity, the ability to respond to adversity and come back. Probably nobody's faced it more in this tournament to the degree that England has, right? Just getting that result in that historic result in Azteca, right? So that's saying something. And they played within themselves, so they showed that the moment wasn't too big. So now here they are, another big stage, and they're trying to get past that big, right, that big hill, and then not to mention the historic piece there with Argentina as well. So all right, team stats coming in. So England average goals 2.17, Argentina 2.83, average goals conceded 1 exactly for both. Average goal differential 1.2 for England, 1.8 for Argentina. Average expected goals. Now this has been the difference, right? Is Argentina struggling in defense in moments, right? 1.82 for England, 2.13 for Argentina. Average expected goals conceded 0.81 England, 0.65 Argentina. Average expected goal differential 1.0 England, 1.5 Argentina. Possession has been slight edge or a little bit more of a slight edge. Argentina 65 to 58% or 64 to 58%. And then everything else, 2 clean sheets apiece, right? So that has been the interesting piece here. So and then we look at top scorers. Obviously, we know Messi, whereas England brings 2 monsters in Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham. And then top assist players have been Saka and Gordon for England with 3 apiece. And then Messi is actually leading them with assists as well with 2. And then you have McAllister and Martinez with 1 apiece. So interesting how it's kind of broken down. But yeah, I agree. Right, the Enzo Fernandez, they've had different guys step up. That's what I was kind of curious to see. Are different players going to step up in some of those critical moments for Argentina, other than Messi when Messi isn't firing, right? So I don't know, man. This is a tough one from the just. I think this is going to come down to beyond tactics, beyond strategy, beyond substitutions, because I feel like off the bench, even though they're older, the slight edge might be Argentina, I think, in terms of your impact players. But Tuchel, to his credit, he's gotten his substitution patterns kind of dictated by the game, but he's kind of gotten his substitution patterns right, right. He's been pretty strategic with the ones he's had, especially when you go to like you sub out Declan Rice as early as you did in that last match versus Norway, and they have not skipped a beat, and they've shown right this is an England squad that's looking like they're kind of getting healthy again. But who bounces back quicker after the two matches that they just had between with Norway and Sweden? So, all right, guys. So variables, X factors, variables in this match. Who do you think who's to watch in these? Elias, we'll start with you.
I think the winger, I mean, beyond I think it's real easy. The 2 biggest X factors, right, are, I guess 3 biggest X factors are Harry Kane, Jude and Messi. But if you go beyond the obvious, the outside backs of Argentina versus the wingers of England is going to be a critical matchup, because I do think that that's somewhere that Argentina struggles. I think the two center backs for Argentina are very solid. Lisandro Martinez and Christian Romero are incredible. But I mean, he can't decide who his right back is, and you know the old saying, when you have two, you have none. And so, yeah, I mean, Anthony Gordon, Saka, Rashford. I mean, all those players are going to be really important. And then the midfield battle, and I know it's a cliche, but if you look at how this Argentina team has been set up, they don't play with a whole lot of width. The outside backs are really the only ones giving width, and they put six players in the middle of the field. And so how does England deal with that kind of narrow approach? It's a much different approach than maybe they're used to playing, right? It's not a European style. It's very relational, very South American.
How does that change? How does that change if Scaloni goes to a 3-5-2?
I think it stays similar. I think now instead of the outside, now you have an extra center back behind the ball. I think it's more of just a rest defense thing. It does take one player out of the middle, but now you do have more of a wide threat, so maybe it does open up some more space. So it's almost like addition by subtraction. Can we pin some of those defenders back to open up a little bit of space in the middle, even if we're giving up a man there? But Enzo versus Declan, McAllister versus Elliot Anderson, who's going to pick up Messi? Who's going to pick up, Rodrigo? How many people does Rodrigo de Paul kill when they foul Messi? Right, like y'all seen those memes about his bodyguard. So it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be lots of interesting little battles that are gonna decide the outcome of this.
Wes?
Yeah, I think it'll be. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see who he goes with. Tuchel goes with, because he's kind of gone back and forth with Gordon and Rashford. I don't even think Rashford got in the last game. Who does he decide to go with at this point? Watching the way that Jude arrives late into the box too. But I think for Argentina, it's going to be McAllister. He's one of the biggest X factors, like what he does with the space that Messi creates. Because Messi's going to get a lot of attention when he gets the ball, and there's going to be a lot of space that opens up for McAllister in that spot. He's done a good job. Scored last game. I have Argentina in this one. I think this one Argentina 2-1. I kind of jumped the gun, give you my prediction, but it is going to be who makes the best adjustments when this game comes to fruition. And here we have 4 managers in this final, and I would say 3 of them have been there before, know what they're doing, and we've got one manager who is here for the first time and figuring it out, and we have a lot of drama around him in the locker room. So it's a question. We'll see what happens. But
yeah, well, De La Fuente's world class, but keep in mind, no Spanish manager has been here since 2010, right? Because they have not had a good knockout stage record since 2010, right?
No, they've been the last 3, right?
Right, yeah. Right. But here's the other stat. Here's the other random stat. Can England make history here, right? Because remember, no team has ever won it all with a foreign manager, right? And they're the only one with a foreign manager, right? So you talked about the German spy. So yeah. Does that come into play here? So we'll see. Rafa?
I think the X factor for this game is, can Julian Alvarez getting that game winner from the last game equate to this game here? I think they're going to really key on Messi. I think this is a game for him to step up. Because like I said, there's been a lot of hype on him. This is an opportunity, because I'm sure he's going to get probably better looks than Messi if England's really going to concentrate on him. So, and he's got to take full advantage, especially like that, that golazo he scored. If he gets a couple of those, I think that'll be I think he'll take Argentina into the final. And like I said, I think England's got to be very wary of that. If they probably concentrate too much on him, if you lead him, Alvarez I think has an opportunity to really, I can see him getting a brace in this game.
Pickford's T-Rex arms aren't saving either of those either.
Dude, he's he's come up big last couple of games. I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit.
Still missing.
I'll give him credit, but the other piece too is I would say I'll be curious to see as it relates to Messi how Tuchel uses Declan Rice, right? And especially if Scaloni goes to a 3-5-2 right in the midfield, right? I'll be curious about that. And then I think and Fernandez in the midfield adjusting to Jude. And I think when England gets up high into their attacking third, into the box, they're going to have to figure out they cannot lose because what he really is, even though he's a midfielder, what he really is he's a master poacher. Is Jude Bellingham? They cannot lose him in that box, right? Because I think that'll be a key piece. He's come up clutch and he reads it so well in terms of being in the right place at the right time. So, and then I think what's that one?
I think the gamble is for England is can they exploit Messi's lack of defensive work without giving him the space to punish him going the other way. So, and that's where Jude comes in. Does he come in those late runs in the box like you were saying? I mean, he's been huge. I think he's been their best player outside. Harry Kane obviously scores a goal, but I think Jude's been the best one on the field for them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's been the big difference, right? It's been his arrival, and then when you're in the golden boot race as a midfielder, that's saying something. But the fact that it's when him and Harry Kane, Elias was talking about having two big ones, right? Two guys coming up clutch repeatedly, right? That's big, man. That's big. So who's going to step up for Argentina to be that person, with Messi, right, in this one? Because I think they're going to need that at some point. But both of these teams have been clutch. I think what I've liked about watching this England team, right, Elias mentioned Argentina and the close comparison to Real Madrid, which I could see that. Yeah, what I've liked about this England squad, believe it or not, has been they've had like moments of watching, not in this tournament, but in the past, right? All U.S. men's national teams, grit, fight, figuring things out, clutch moments, clutch players, their big players stepping up, having big goals. That's what's impressed me with this England squad, right? As ugly as it's been, right? Nobody does it better in terms of winning ugly. These two teams, nobody has won uglier more than these two teams, probably. So, all right, official scoreline. So, Wes, anything else you want to add? I know you said 2-1. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I think that big thing is who controls. Does Messi get the freedom to do what he can do, or do they find a way to finally defend him, like they've talked about their ability to do for the last 20 years? So, yeah, I still think it's Argentina 2-1.
Okay, Rafa.
I'm gonna go off 3-2. I think this one goes extra time.
3-2. Who? Argentina.
Argentina.
Okay.
They're wearing the blue jersey, so history's not on England's side.
Hey, they already killed one. They already killed one beast, man. The Azteca Mano de Dios beast. So we'll see.
I was going to say, is history ever on England's side, though?
Dude, it's been what,
60 years
since their one title. And dude, what could you imagine how unbearable they would be if they won it on American soil?
American soil. No, I can't.
I'm just saying, man. Certain things are starting to line up for this England squad. We'll see. But Elias,
I got a picture for you.
That's good.
I was told there would be no reading in this. So, hey, is that a 90-minute win? I don't know if that's an extra
It's
time.
a 90-minute win, baby. No, we celebrate 250 years of kicking their butt, and I'm gonna pick. I think Argentina is they're gonna have it. They're gonna have that little bit extra. I think that they'll get a goal from Messi. I do think, like Rafa said, I think Julian Alvarez, that goal that he scored, is huge because that gives them that Angel Di Maria type threat opposite of Messi. Somebody that gives them a little bit of pace. Somebody that can create a moment of magic out of nothing. So I think that was huge to maybe, find that sidekick there for Messi. But I just, the experience they have, they don't seem to die ever. I think that we've talked about it. There's there's tournament teams, right? I mean, Switzerland was a great example of a team that just knows how to play tournament soccer. I think Argentina is that kind of team that they just know how to play tournament soccer and they know how to get a win. And they may not be the better team. Right? I could see this going where England dominates a lot of this game, but Argentina finds a way to get the job done. So yeah, I'm sticking. There will not be a tea party in New York. I can tell you that. So
There's no rowing. There's no rowing happening in New York. I know
there
that.
is no rowing happening in New York. So but there will be no tea party either.
Hey, the other, if people aren't looking at this closely, talking about it, thinking about it going into this match, you're fooling yourself, right? You're burying your head in the sand. The other variable that will be closely watched in this match will be how it's officiated and how if and or when, all right, VAR is involved, right? So that will be watched closely in this one. So definitely a variable, definitely a factor in this one. So I'll be curious to see who's the official for this one again.
Uh, have they
I was
announced
going
it?
to say, I don't know. No, that's what I was saying. I don't know if they've actually
I think
announced it.
they'll
No.
announce it tomorrow. They don't like announcing them until the day before because they don't want them to be like targeted and stuff.
Right, of course. So get CONCACAF on CONCACAF soil.
Yeah.
So good deal. Awesome. Well, hey, so yeah, that is going to do it. Before we go, again, want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, GoalGetter. If your family is navigating the girls' soccer recruiting process, GoalGetter provides the education tools and guidance families need to help you better understand the recruiting landscape and make informed decisions. To get more information, you can look them up both on Instagram and X at GoalGetter. That's GOLGETR Soccer, at GoalGetter Soccer, as well as on their website or goalgetter.com. That's GOLGETR.com. Again, that's goalgetter.com. All right, boys, final thoughts as we wrap up here, and then I got a couple of announcements to make, but final thoughts. We've covered quite a bit, but man, it's almost two episodes in a row, man, where we're encroaching on Joe Rogan status. Wes, Elias, I like it. I like it.
Yep.
Hey, by the way, before I forget, in case you missed our episode 17 of the Red, White, and Crew podcast, our postmortem autopsy of the U.S. men's national team, you owe it to yourself. Go back, listen to it, because got a lot of great feedback on that episode. It was over 2 hours, and I think we covered just about everything but global warming for the U.S. men's national team. So you definitely get in there and watch it. I think we even discussed taxation with representation. So in that one. So, all right. Final thoughts, Elias. We'll start with you, buddy.
It's going to be a great 2 days. I'm going to the game tomorrow. I'm excited to see some fireworks. It's going to be electric. We're closing in on the end of this tournament, and I think we just got to enjoy these. There's 4 games, right? We get to watch 4 of the best teams for at least 2 more games guaranteed. I think that was something cool that I realized the other day because of the third place games, right? So just enjoy it. It's going to be a moment. It's going to be 2 games where moments decided, I think, and it's going to be which superstars decide those moments. And but it's been a heck of a tournament. I've watched more soccer than I have in a long time. It's reinvigorated me. It's reminded me of why I love this game so much. And I'm thankful that we got to be a part of it this time.
Rafa.
Like I said, great World Cup, winding down. Like I said, didn't imagine we have the top 4 teams. Like I said, just worked out that way. And like I said, we got a couple bangers coming up, and I'm sure the final is going to be just as good on Sunday. So whichever of the 4 combinations out, so it's been worth it. Like I said, worth all these games and so forth. I know they've mentioned about the expansion to 64 teams, but I think with the 48 teams, like I said, it's brought a lot of storylines, a lot of drama, and just a lot of great soccer. So I'm looking forward for these Tuesdays, Wednesdays game and the game on Sunday.
Yeah. And Wes, before we get to you, kind of some hot off the press. Looks like this just broke in the last 30 minutes, 40 minutes.
Gosh, they're CONCACAF in this whole World Cup. What in the world?
CONCACAF in them. Look at that.
That's the MLS referee. Golly.
I'm trying to remember what games he called, because I know I saw at least one game that he called already. I just can't remember. Might have been a group stage game.
He was the Paraguay-France game, wasn't he?
Was that him? Was that him?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm kind
interesting.
of surprised he got another one.
Yeah.
So Ismail Elfath of the United States. It will be okay for our audio listeners that are listening to the podcast later. It will be an American crew referee and two ARs. Corey Parker, assistant referee, and Kyle Atkins, assistant referee number 2, 1, and 2. And then your fourth official, Italian and reserve AR, both Italian. And then I noticed how they never mentioned the VAR crew on here. It'd be interesting if they did.
On that.
So, all right, Wes, final thoughts.
All I know is I hate it whenever I see his face whenever we're playing with FC Dallas and he's refereeing a game. But hopefully he'll represent us well. But yeah, final thoughts. I can't wait till they extend this tournament to 64 teams. And I am sitting up 4 years from now at 2 o'clock in the morning screaming at a game between Honduras and India. I can't wait.
Guadalupe and Vatican City, man. Guadalupe and Vatican City.
I'll be in Ibiza, watching the games in Spain and Morocco in 4 years. Just wait.
I think I'm going. My wife has talked about us going to Morocco in 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'll be curious to see how they do that with the one game in South America for the three. So it's kind of
Uruguay and Argentina, and it's going to be winter time down there.
Yeah, I know. That's an added piece. And how they group them, and then if they do go 64, I don't know, man. Chaos. So, Wes, anything else? Final thoughts?
No, I think I'm ready to watch these. It's been a long 2 days without soccer, and I need something to happen.
Good deal. So, all right, keep in touch. Again, you can like, rate, subscribe. Make sure this video, especially if you're listening on YouTube, hit like right now. If you are not subscribed, hit the subscribe button right now, and then hit that live bell notification button. That will make sure it gives you live notifications of any and every episode that we do. Again, you can also follow us on socials at Red White Crew Pod, as well as on for the 50/50 podcast at 50_50 pod. If you are not following us on YouTube and you'd like to, just enter the 50_50 podcast. And then for our old school podcast listeners, that prefer the audio podcast, or you're traveling, you're on the road, what have you. Again, just go on there, whatever your preferred podcast platform is, just look us up under the 50/50 podcast. That's where you'll find the Red, White, and Crew podcast. And just give us a rating, rate, subscribe, and any complaints, send that to Brian Heyman, who's not here today. He's in charge of our complaint department, right, for the Red, White, and Crew pod. So he'll be sure and get back to you in 2 to 3 years. But if you like what you're hearing, if you like the coverage, tell us that as well. Really appreciate you guys. So, but that is going to do it for episode 18 of the Red, White, and Crew pod. Our previews of the upcoming semifinals, which start tomorrow. Excited. I think we're in store for some absolute classics, right? As it marks the first time in World Cup history where the top 4 rated FIFA teams, top 4 ranked teams, all make the semifinals. So I think we're in store for a lot of drama. So that is going to do it. So for Coach Aaron Wesner, Elias Ramos, and Rafa Casorena, I'm your host, Coach Hector Cano, and you know what to do. Until the next time, keep downloading and